Hello, I'm Travis Fish, and I'm joined by my co-host Tom Rees, and we've worked in UK hospitality operations for our whole career. This is the Ops Club podcast, a show in which Tom and I discuss what's really going on in UK hospitality, or at least in our small corner of it. And each week, we'll be talking to a different industry operator about how they're coping and what's on their mind right now. Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Fresh back from a short trip to Paris.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, was it Tuesday, Wednesday or something you were there?
Yeah, 2.5 days, really. Got a fantastic deal on something called Eurostar Snap. Have you heard of that?
What's that? No, I haven't.
It's last minute train tickets, and they're like half price. If you don't mind going, either you have to say I can go in the morning or the afternoon, and then they tell you when your train is.
I assume they tell you like the day before or something.
Yeah, a couple of days before. But if you're flexible, it's absolutely great. So I think it was just over 100 quid return. Yeah, it was fantastic. I was there with a good friend of mine who was writing an article about our exploits, and we were just there to basically get to the heart of what makes a great steak frite.
Excellent. It sounds like a truly important hospitality work.
Totally necessary, mate. I want to do it as well as I can possibly do it on our menu.
This is for the pub. This is for menu development for the pub, right?
Yeah. And I just wanted to nail it as like a sort of classic. So I thought, where better to go and explore all of the intricacies of it than Paris? I've been to some great restaurants in Paris and some pretty, down-to-earth restaurants in Paris, and they kind of all do a steak frite pretty much. So I was interested in really getting underneath the skin of it. And yeah, the truth was, we spoke to loads of Parisians. They kind of couldn't agree. There wasn't like a universal standard. And there was nowhere, one place in the city that was like, yeah, that's the place to go. Bistro Paul Bert came up quite a lot. And L'Entrecôte, the Relais de Venise, came up. And then lots of people just said, I'll go to a bouillon, like the bouillon Chartier, which holds a special place in my heart. But interestingly, there's a new company. There's two new companies, actually, since I was last there. The brasserie group called the Nouvelle Garde, who are they're modern, old school French brasseries, and they're really good. And that was amazing. And then there's these new bouillons, which are like the workers' cafes.
Oh, wow.
Like insanely cheap, nice. They look great. They're a little bit, the new ones are a little bit of a sort of Disney version of the proper old school Chartier restaurant. But then you can't recreate
what's your
history.
What's your sort of steak frites like magic tips then?
One bloke actually said, "Oh, have you heard of a place called the Flat Iron?" I was like, yes, I have. Yes. Are you recommending that to me? That's mad. Yeah. How about you? Been anywhere good?
I actually have for once, which is quite unusual for me, but I had my first ever 2 Michelin star lunch on Saturday.
Oh, wow. Where was that?
So that was up in Nottingham at restaurant Sat Baines.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
I think he might be, I can't remember if he's from Nottingham or from Sheffield, but he's a northern chap. And I mean, I don't know, Tom, I don't know if you've ever been to many Michelin restaurants. I haven't been to maybe 2. The thing that shocked me most, like he was there.
Oh, really?
Cooking, working the pass, and we were lucky enough to be like on the table, like basically like the chef's table overlooking the kitchen. And he like served a load of the dishes, came and talked to us, and we were like, so like, are you here? Like, is this what you like do, or have we just like lucked out that you happen to be passing today? And he was like, no, he's here for like 98% of the time.
Yeah, wow, on the pans.
And it was just phenomenal, like as an experience thing. And like obviously, like it's a different sort of thing when you're spending, Michelin sort of money.
Michelin money.
But it was experientially like unbelievable having that level of like, I guess like knowledge as well. Like just the discussions that you could have with him was just unbelievable. I never would have thought someone would know as much about the menu. I sort of thought that the Michelin level of restaurant was sort of a bit of smoke and mirrors.
A bit compartmentalized. So you've got, kind of everyone knowing their own bit, but maybe not putting it all together.
Yeah, and just like I didn't think someone would have the sort of knowledge. Like he was talking to us about, like the intricacies of different things, and like he knew so much about like game birds and seasons, and which bit is better when and how you would go about this bird, not that bird. Like just the level of product knowledge was insane.
Yeah, no, good on him, and like that is
so, yeah.
For me, that's an amazing thing to kind of get that he's quite a big name, being on TV and all that, to just still be there doing it. That's kind of what you pay for, right?
Yeah,
Would you say it was a value for money?
yeah. I think definitely it was not a cheap everyday eat, but I think like I'm already thinking like, what would I do to go back? And actually, like, it was definitely the most expensive meal I've ever had.
Yeah, that's all it is, isn't it? If you go back, then you nailed it. He's nailed it. Nice. What did you eat?
Oh, Tom, too many things to even get into. But I did get to try my first ever chow and mushi.
Oh, what's that?
See, I'd struggle to even really describe it, if I'm honest. Sort of like a set custard,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
like a
Nice.
savoury set custard sort of dish,
You're not selling it.
which I've heard about it a lot. I've seen it on Great British Menu a load of times. I'd never eaten one, so I was quite pleased to be able to try one.
Nice. Well, from one legendary industry name to another.
So who are we talking to today, Tom?
Well, Bruce Isaacs.
Bruce is someone I met a couple of months ago, and he's a great stalwart, I think it would be the right sort of word, icon of the industry. Been around for, across the last sort of 30, 40 years now. One of the original founders of Ed's Easy Diner. And yeah, we had an absolutely fantastic conversation with Bruce. So enjoy it, and we will catch up with you all soon.
This episode is brought to you by Williams Stanley & Company, modern accountants for ambitious hospitality brands. From accounting and payroll to smarter data systems, they give you clear numbers you can actually use to run the week, not just file at year-end. If you want a partner who knows hospitality and moves fast, talk to Williams Stanley & Company. Learn more at williamsstanley.co.
Hi, Bruce. Welcome on the podcast. It's really great to have you. We only met a couple of months ago, but as soon as I met you, I knew that you would be a valuable guest and a valuable operator to have on the show. Part of what we're trying to do with the Ops Club podcast is help operators get out of their sort of day-to-day. I think we all know that operators aren't sometimes the best at looking up and looking out from their day job. So you are one of our first people to bring into the mix to share some stories and share some conversation with myself and with Tom.
Hi.
And we've got lots of areas to explore. Let's start with a little intro, Bruce, from yourself. Who are you and where have you come from?
Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I don't know whether it's good to be early on or whether it's better to have been able to. I should have gone online and tried to listen to some of the previous ones, but of course I haven't done that because that would require too much planning. So thanks for inviting me. My background briefly is that I've been doing this for a very long time. So therefore lots to tell and all sorts of ways that the business has changed and developed over the time I've been doing it. As I was saying to you just now, I realised that it's 40 years this month since I bought my first restaurant in Park Street in Bristol. And ironically, as these things happen, a business that I'm involved with at the moment, we're looking at a site on Park Street at the moment to go into, so revisiting old places. But my background is I got a degree in economics. I grew up in London and happened to fall into restauranting by chance. It wasn't a dream, it wasn't a passion, it wasn't I've always wanted to own a restaurant. I thought I would do it for a couple of years, go to the States, get an MBA, come back and get a real job. and I never did. So here I am. Clearly, having told you that I opened a restaurant, or I bought a restaurant 40 years ago, not young, but still think I am, so that's okay. And I've never had a real job. Very, very rarely have I worked for others. I have worked for others and have been employed occasionally, but most of the time I've been playing on my own account.
Fascinating.
Travis and I started this podcast talking about our shared backgrounds. We started together and feel like we have kind of gone through almost a cycle of we both started out, got into our second bigger job, ops job, both opened businesses, our own businesses, and then have come back into different worlds and are doing sort of various consultancy bits and bobs. I guess there's something about hospitality that keeps people within it. What was it that initially, you said you sort of you fell into it like a lot of people, you kind of get hooked into it. What was the thing that hooked you in?
Maybe I never could get a real job. Maybe it was default rather than design. No, I actually think it's much more positive than that. So I started off converting pubs into cafe bars and brasseries for Incoop Taylor Walker. I'll talk about businesses companies that no longer exist. Incoop Taylor Walker was part of Allied Breweries, part of Allied Lions, part of Allied Domecq. Eventually,
which became M&B...
No, Punch.
Punch.
So the pubs became Punch. when the whole demerging of breweries and pubs and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they ended up owning everything from Baskin Robbins to Dunkin' Donuts in the States to all sorts. But in my time, it was a pub operating division that had 800 pubs in London.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I say London, presumably M25, I can't remember exactly. But
I don't know if I should use the phrase sort of like back then, but
back then,
pubs feel like they were probably then like the central part of the hospitality industry. Like
absolutely.
There wasn't a huge amount of multi-site brands.
I was looking at some stuff recently, and if you think about branded restaurants in those days, you had Bernie Inn. I don't know, Beefeater probably had started. Pizza Land, possibly. In London there was something called Garner's Steakhouses, which had been sold to United Biscuits for the sites which became Pizza Land. Yeah, here I am picking up on the... I was telling Travis my specialist subject on Mastermind will be, what was that site before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, stupid things that you remember.
That's a really, that's an interesting inference anyway, because there's so much change, and it feels like it's speeding up, but it's always been like that, right? It's always been...
Yeah, I don't know that it is speeding up. I mean, so to answer your question properly, in those days the pub was very much a central part of hospitality. At the time, one of the leaders of one of the pub companies had come out with a statement that was a pub was a place for men to go to throw darts, drink beer, and avoid their wives. And that was a well thought through argument that actually that's what they should do and do it very well. Food was secondary. They were open between 11 and 3. They opened again at 5:30. I can't remember. But, they weren't all day and all this sort of thing. And our idea, the idea that the managing director of Taylor Walker in those days had, was that we should experiment, and I was the experiment, with trying to take a couple of sites and do something different.
Yeah.
So open all day, appealing to women, selling food, selling cocktails, wines, premium lagers, and do it differently. And so, out of that, I genuinely, and I was saying it to Travis recently when we met, what they did was ludicrous. They gave me, in 1980...
Something.
two. Originally, I was employed in 82.
Yeah,
we opened in 83. So before everybody was born that's listening to this, genuinely, I expect before most of you were born.
Yeah, before we were born.
Before the two of you were born, They gave me 170,000, I think, to take the site. They owned the site. It was 1,200 square foot in the ground floor of a car park on the corner of Paddington Street and Chiltern Street. And so come up with an idea that's going to tick all those boxes, work with these designers, staff it, equip it, open it, run it, make it work. And if it works, we'll keep you on. And if it doesn't, we'll fire you. And that was the brief. But, I knew nothing.
Did you enjoy that pressure?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I worked stupidly hard.
Yeah.
I mean, dinosaur in the room. But, I literally, when we opened, was there 24 hours.
Yeah.
And when I say 24 hours, I ended up sleeping there. I mean, I was literally there 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
In the basement, we had a staff room that we put a camp bed into, and quite often I didn't even make that. But, my dad, I was living with my dad. I'd come back from university. He would bring me clean clothes, and I'd have a shower and get up and start again.
That sounds like parallels with sort of the stuff you hear. It's more to do with like startup culture. Now,
Absolutely.
Rather than, I guess there's lots talked about hospitality, long hours, and usually talking about how it used to be or how it still is in a negative way. And, we need to change that and et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of that has moved on broadly. Contracts now tend to be early 40s rather than 48, 50 hours. And the expectation is that people stick to that. But that sounds like there's more to do with the sort of business, startup stuff, like making it work and just getting the concept right.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. And my whole life after that has been doing startups. I'm still doing startups now.
Yeah, right.
So, I think you're absolutely right. It was a real startup culture. Yeah, although there was a structure above me, none of them knew anything about what I was doing. They didn't know any more than I did. So that was called Muswell's, the first one that we opened, which obviously, well, not obviously, because nobody will remember it now, but got rolled out into a brand of 38 odd in the end around the country. And there's a sort of Muswell's alumni, not that we ever meet up.
Yeah.
Some of them may do. Maybe they do. Just exactly. They just never invited me.
You were the boss that's not invited.
Exactly. Yeah, quite probably. Who came out of that and have gone on and done. Yeah, there's some people who've done really well who started off in Muswell's. Peter Borgneel was one of the people who came out of Muswell's at Oakman's, doing really well until recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can Phil Broad, who ran Starbucks, I think, at one point.
Yeah,
There's some really good alum. Not that I keep in touch with Phil Broad. I used to see Peter sometimes.
Yeah.
It was really very much that startup culture, because from that, then I went on to do another startup, which was the Soho Brasserie in Old Compton Street, which was more ambitious, and we did all sorts of more interesting food, more interesting cocktails. It was in every way more ambitious.
Yeah.
But it was more that than it was actually the hospitality culture, because there wasn't a hospitality culture.
Yeah.
There was a pub culture in the business, which I didn't fit into. And that's part of the reason I didn't stick around there for any longer, was because I looked at the culture and it wasn't something that really appealed to me, which was a culture of not making mistakes. And they put those who didn't make mistakes got promoted. Clearly, I was going to be the guy who was out there always on the edge.
Oh, I see. Like quite a safe yes culture.
Absolutely. And
do your time, get promoted.
Absolutely. Yeah, people generally I was the only graduate who went in not as part of the graduate training scheme. And the other main recruitment cohort was ex-Army and Navy that they would bring into, and there were a lot of ex-officers who were running around. And they were great leaders. They didn't necessarily know where they were going, but they were very good at taking you there. And they were
good at taking orders.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was a very, very different culture, which clearly I was never going to fit into.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Cause I think that there's probably parallels with when we started at a big company.
A big pub company as well.
We've named them before, but
but I mean, I remember there, and I thinking it was absolutely crazy that they sort of rebranded as a restaurant, like a pub and restaurant business, after a couple of years of us being there, and actually but they actually are now very much like they would be a restaurant business. Like, I thought it was laughable that almost they were moving away from the idea of pubs. That's even what was it, like 17 or 18 years ago? I didn't know how you could turn, a couple of thousand pubs into restaurants.
Right.
And they very much have.
Yeah. I have a pub up in Maida Vale.
Right.
/ Kilburn. Spiritually in Kilburn. Physically in Maida Vale. And when we opened, fresh food, the mix is about 65-35. And food is a really important part of the offer, as per most businesses.
Yeah.
It wasn't really in our minds at all that we could do just a wet-led site. I mean, I think the site lends itself to it, but I think mostly now people view pubs as it could be anything, right? It's just a space. And they can be really unique spaces that occupy a sort of particular place in the British psyche, and this sort of third space and Britain's living room and all that stuff. But do you think there's been a fundamental shift or just the process that you talked about, which was pretty radical back when you were doing it, do you think that's just carried on sort of steadily, or things are fundamentally different with pubs now?
I think there have probably been a few key moments where they've changed. I think the Eagle on Farringdon was a major part of it. Belbin, I think David? Yeah, he used to hang out in Ed's when I had Ed's, and because they were in Soho, and then they had a restaurant in Endell Street. Tell you what it was called if I think long enough. But it was good. It was a great story. I'll tell it very briefly, because they were really good characters, and they were instrumental, I think, in changing the way that pubs operated, and the whole fresh food behind the counter and everything. Still you see, and they've done. But the place that they opened, they were doing on a real budget on Endell Street, and the night before they opened, they were still slapping plaster up themselves on the ceiling, and it hadn't dried properly by the time they were doing the opening. It started falling down. So there were bits of plaster which had come down and revealed the whatever rafters above, which they left like that. And it became one of the things that you would go for, was because this was the restaurant which the plaster had fallen off the ceiling. Yeah, they did, I think, reasonably well with it. And I think it was on the back of that, actually, that they opened the Eagle. Yeah. So I think there have been key moments where pubs have changed dramatically. What we did was take a pub and turn it into something different. Yeah. What you're talking about is taking a pub and making it into a better pub.
Sure.
And I think that really has happened. And if I go back to I don't think I have pictures of what the Apollo on Paddington Street that we took and turned into Muswell's, what it looked like as a pub. But I don't think anything, certainly not in London. Yeah. Those sort of places don't exist anymore.
But,
but I mean, the funny thing is, there was darts at one end which of course darts now is great business.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Well, whole flight clubs, a whole brand new modern business out.
Who would have thought you could make a business out of darts?
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah. Me and my business partner, we debated this a lot. There used to be a dartboard in the pub, and we took it out, but just because the room was too small, really.
Right.
And it was a covers thing, and it was just space, and
what can I make out of that space?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was it's a slightly oddly designed space, and I think that what the darts brought in terms of lads or anyone come together to play a game and enjoy a few drinks.
But like community.
Great. Yeah, that's great, right? But I guess there's an associated element of all of those things together in a boozy pub environment that was exclusive to a group of guys who wanted to keep it that way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a business strategy, but nowadays wouldn't sort of cut the mustard in terms of the
no, but then again, there are places, and we talk about Flight Club, but there are actually other places where, be it board games or a combination of Connect 4 and shuffleboard and things that you don't actually go specifically to throw darts or putt. Right?
Yeah,
who would have thought putting would whatever. Yeah. But there's actually a place that I went to recently, a bar on a roof in Tooting, where they're doing very informal games. So they've just got things out for people to play, and it's exactly the same principle of it brings different people together, either as their group or they'll bring in other people to the group, and they will, as a result of that, have something to talk about, or they'll meet on a Thursday night to play.
Yeah. There'll be either more frequency, or there'll be more community involvement, or you'll get a local group going. And...
Absolutely, or it may get your dwell time up, which therefore you're going to sell a pizza or whatever it may be,
Yeah, I guess it's the reason to visit, getting people out of the house, reason to visit and bring people together. Do you think, like, expanding that idea a little bit more, that sort of thing has always existed and it's evolved now? Do you think there are fairly universal elements of hospitality that have stayed the same? You've seen them stay the same, through your time in different businesses, or do you think there are? Or it could be both. There are things that have fundamentally changed and that nowadays are totally different to how it used to be.
So I tend towards the former. Yeah, I think nothing has changed in many ways. Yeah, I'm a grumpy old man a lot of the time, as anybody who knows me well will, listening to this, will, I'm sure, attest to. But it's in the name. We're in hospitality. Yeah. Hospitality, whether it's going to somebody's home and being welcomed into it, or going into an environment where you're paying to be there, you want to be welcomed into it. You want the same things to happen. By definition, therefore, it's been the same since we were cavemen, and women, going to visit each other. Yeah, you want to give, metaphorically, be given a hug as you walk through the door and be made to feel welcome. Yeah. And that's going to be the same, whether it's throwing darts or drinking a pint or having a cocktail, or sitting down for a Michelin star meal. And, I think it's when we lose that simplicity of we're actually there to be hospitable and give people a good time, make them feel valued. Actually, therefore, the transactional part, where they have to pay to be there, is secondary, then we lose what we're doing. So in that respect, I don't think it's changed at all. In all of the ways that we can use tech and everything else to make it easier, better, smoother, slicker, of course there are changes. But and there's a different expectation, because when we were opening Muswell's all the way back, then people were not used to going out as often to those sort of environments where beer and all of the things that came out of that sort of culture of all bar one or pitcher and piano, or any of those sorts of businesses. Even lounges now. I go to a lounges. I don't go very often because I'm very London centric, and I think, wow, it's Muswell's 40 years later.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's not a whole load different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's made a phenomenal business, which I look at and go,
been a massive success story. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe I should have done it. Clearly I should have done it.
I want to talk to you about Ed's. When I first moved to London, or we used to visit London, it was such an iconic restaurant in Soho, that site. Was at,
corner of Moore Street and Old Compton Street.
Yeah, off Old Compton, yeah. How was that? That was a business you founded, right?
So I was a co-founder. The story behind it was I'd had the restaurant down in Bristol for a couple of years, which I'd done with somebody, ended up taking him out, and had owned and operated it for a couple of years, which was tough. Yeah, that was more of a Browns style operation. So, hardwood floors and Kentia palms and Christopher Ray fans and
Yeah.
open all day, which was,
Lovely.
again, it hasn't changed a lot in 40 years. It really has not changed a lot. But so I'd sold that. I was highly leveraged in that in the days that banks would lend money and interest rates went to 15%. Which for those of you of a different generation, wow. No,
We're moaning about 6%.
yeah, well, exactly. And thinking about what restaurants make, basically I was working for the bank, which was fine. But if I worked for the bank, they might have paid me every month. So maybe I should have done something different. But anyway, I managed to sell it, come back to London, and was looking at what to do next. And I wanted something that was small, easily replicable, brandable. And I'd been out to the States. I had family out there, and had been in some diners. I was in Rochester, New York, upstate New York, and I'd been to visit my maternal grandmother who was living there. And the first place that we went was to the diner. Second place was to Wegmans, the supermarket, which she was so excited about. I mean, it was the next generation of supermarkets. And bless her. Yeah, she wanted to take us to show us how, you go to the supermarket and everything was, so much more accessible, and they give you a coffee while you're walking around. But anyway, we went to the diner first. I wasn't going to open Wegmans; that was too big. But so I was looking at diners, and I came back and I met with a chap called Tim May, who had been. He and his partner John Larkin had a company originally called Larkin and May. Then it became Design House, who were pub and restaurant designers, and they'd been instrumental in coming up with the concept and really selling it into Coops Taylor Walker to do the Soho brasserie. Mm-hmm. So I knew Tim well, and I called him up because I was looking to see what to do next, and he was a guy who was well in touch with what was going on in the London scene, and something of a mentor in some ways, as he was to a lot of people. Passed away a few years ago, sadly. But I was talking to him about diners. He said to me, "That's funny, we're talking to this guy already, and actually I'm doing a bit of work for him. We should introduce you could do it together." And so he introduced me to Barry Margolis, who they were working with. Barry's background was his father had Garner Steakhouses, which I mentioned earlier, which were the forerunner to Aberdeen, which had been sold to United Biscuits for Pizzaland. So he had been to the States. He never admitted it. He also passed away. Seen Johnny Rockets, which was the modern day equivalent of a 50s diner.
Yeah, like more on the hamburger end, wasn't it? Like more like a...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, he'd shown me pictures of it and we'd talked about it. I'd not seen it when we opened Ed's. And we opened something that was a UK version, if you like, of Johnny Rockets. And it was phenomenal. I mean, we took the site that had been originally, here I am going back to my what was it before, had been a Wimpy bar that had been defranchised as a Wimpy bar. It was a really shitty business on a shitty site.
Whereabouts was the first one?
Old Compton Street.
Oh, was it? That was the first one?
That was the first one.
Oh, wow.
November 13, 1987. There we go. Not to show that I have it. I love data. Yeah, what can I tell you, Travis? I told you I love data and remember stupid things. I can't remember where I was yesterday, but I can tell you,
the date.
the date and how much we took on the first... No, not quite how much we took on the first day, but almost. So I knew the area because I'd had the Soho brasserie a few years before. Knew lots of the people locally. The guy... publican Norman who was there forever, the coach and horses. I remember standing outside the site looking at it when we were building it, and Norman came by and he goes, "So what are you doing here?" Grumpy old man as he was then, probably younger than I am now. But, and I told him 21 seats around a counter selling burgers. And he goes, "You're crazy." There we go. I'm controlling myself.
That's right. I think we can swear on the podcast.
I think we can swear.
I don't know who's going to listen. I don't know.
No, exactly.
My kids might listen. I think they've heard it before, but and they probably won't, so it's fine. So you've got to be crazy. It'll never work. And everybody that saw it went, "You can't make 21 seats work on that and turn it into the sort of business you're going to need to pay the rent and all the rest of it." But actually, it was phenomenal. It was. So we opened that November '87. Immediately, we had great press. I've still got the press book from it, which is kind of cute. And of course, in those days, it was all written press, so you can keep it more easily.
Did you go and seek that? Did you invite people in, or did people just?
We spent significantly in those days on PR. Initially we had Matthew Freud, initially we had Alan Crompton Batt, actually, who was the PR guru at the time. Again, not around anymore. But so he helped us with the launch. Then we traded him out at some point because he was only ever interested in what was new at the time. Very good at it, don't get me wrong. But then went to Freud's, who in those days were a very small business. They were working with the Hard Rock and then us. And I actually, I knew Matthew. He and I had been at school together. I was a year or two older than him, but his brother was a year older, I think, and he was a year younger, so sort of knew each other. And I ended up even spending time at Freud's talking to them about how restaurants worked so that they could be better PR agents to restaurants.
Yeah.
But we did spend significant, and we'd debate it because we didn't need the PR to put bums on seats, but if we actually wanted to build a brand, the value was in the brand building.
Yeah, right.
If we were going to do something with the brand.
Yeah. Did you always have that idea that if you try to scale something? And...
Yeah, we did. And this is where we ended up falling out, was because we had the opportunity. We opened 3 very quickly. So we opened Soho first, Kings Road, July 88. My sister came to one of the openings and very nearly gave birth to one of her daughters.
Oh, wow.
So
add to the general madness of an opening.
Absolutely. And then the third we opened in Hampstead in December 88. So the idea was to try and do 3 in a year, which again was was massively ambitious.
Hampstead's an interesting choice. For,
I guess
a bit more residential.
3 incredible locations. But maybe that was different when you were opening them. Was the Kings Road what it is now? Then?
The Kings Road was in some ways even better for us in those days because it was less big brands, it was more startups.
Yeah.
We were down the far end of the Kings Road, just where it sort of Kings, Beaufort Street, I think, Beaufort House is on the corner south.
Yeah.
So it must be Beaufort Street. Yeah. So just beyond there on the right-hand side. And it had been a little French restaurant. Genuinely, I can remember going in to see it when we were taking it. We paid a premium for it. I think it was all of 700 square foot. Yeah, we had a storeroom that was, nobody can see where we are because we took the video out. So it's pointless making it. But it was
about as big as.
Yeah, exactly. It was not much bigger than a cupboard. I mean, we had a walk-in fridge, small walk-in fridge, a few shelves, and that was it. And of course, we wanted to maximise the amount of space that we could have for trading, and the kitchen was down one side and all the rest of it. So there we had, we scaled up from the 21 seats that we had in Soho. I think there we had 28 around the counter, and then we had a few side tables, as it were, high counters, where we had a couple of stools which we could sort of have more people standing around, so we could get up to about 32, 33. But we just didn't have the capacity there to hold enough for a weekend, because on a busy day, on a busy Saturday on that site with 30-odd seats, we'd be doing 800 people.
Oh, wow.
And it was relentless. It was
crazy,
Thankfully, I didn't have to work it that often. But again, I remember one weekend, the guy who did work it, who I can name check, Nick Sandler, who's gone on and done all sorts of great stuff for food development for all sorts of people. But who was the GM? He couldn't work that weekend. He was at a wedding. And I ended up doing a double shift on the Saturday, and I still remember how tired I was at the end of it. Physically, my voice had gone.
Just relentless.
Relentless, and you go to sleep, and you've still got everything going on in your head, so you don't sleep because you're still shouting orders and working out where you're going to sit people.
It takes a long time to come down from that, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Soho would do 400 odd covers a day on a regular basis of 20 seats.
Yeah,
wow,
it's crazy.
That's incredible.
Was the concept when Ed's first launched then, was it mainly like the burgers, fries, shakes sort of thing? It wasn't the full diner?
No, absolutely not.
I think where it ended up was sort of like breakfast and...
Yeah, no, we didn't do breakfast. We opened 11, I think. Yeah, so it was purely that. We had 3 different burgers, burger, cheeseburger. I don't remember what the third one was, but it was
bacon.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I think definitely there was bacon.
Not your Beyond Meat burger from
no,
the
definitely no Beyond Meat. We did a chicken breast, so that was a different offer, poached and then grilled. On the griddle. Fries, cheese fries, chili fries, wet fries. Did you ever have wet fries? Fries and gravy.
Yeah, right. Amazing. And I guess those were maybe more direct translations from America, right? Which at the time,
yes, I think there
there's
were
loads of that stuff now.
Yeah, exactly.
Every type of fry specific. I mean, there's a
fry business.
Yeah, just opening in Soho. I walked past the, specific fry centre. On Noel Compton.
Loaded fries.
Yeah,
but people would come in. I mean, the cheese fries, we had these ridiculously large cans that would come over from the States with tartrazine cheese sauce.
God.
I mean, they were absolutely vile stuff. But it's very addictive. Hate to imagine where that would fit with all the
But it's interesting how so that's like an authentic burger and fries, concept diner from the States.
Yep.
It feels really cyclical, but then you come around to whatever 20 years later, and you're doing Byron.
Yeah.
From same thing,
No,
maybe
absolutely.
slightly higher quality, slightly more British, but
I would even challenge you on slightly higher quality. We did great burgers.
Yeah.
We did genuinely great burgers. I went up to the guy who used to make the burgers. We had them hand pressed.
Amazing.
We went through all the different combinations of what should be in them and the different grinds and the different fat contents.
Yeah.
We were maniacal about it almost.
I mean,
fanatical.
All listening to you talk about that is that there are such strong parallels with the focus of get what went into Byron and all that and how everyone used to and how that brand was talked about in terms of it being an authentic. It was the founder Tom had been in a diner in the States, studied in the States, been in a diner, and wanted to recreate that experience in the UK for a UK market, but with a few kind of British specific touches. But ultimately, it was about bringing that casual quality that you could find in America that you couldn't find in Britain. But I mean, you could, because there was Ed's, and I guess there are these cycles in hospitality that can't go around. Do you sometimes look at the market now and think, there's something's coming back?
Well,
time for something to sell.
Yeah, I mean, God, obviously, if I could spot what the next thing was going to be that came back, I wouldn't be sitting chatting to you, or maybe I would, because I'd had more time. But there's definitely cycles. I mean, I looked at Byron when it started and went, it's Ed's come back, but in a different environment with a different way of doing it. Yeah. But and actually I thought it was great. I used to use it and enjoy it. Yeah, as we talked about with lounges, as Muswell's come back, is that that some of the brasserie type places they're no different to what we were doing at the Soho Brasserie. Yeah, again 40 years ago.
Yeah, and I guess it speaks to that universal need for just great spaces, good food, and warm hospitality, right? And that's
we didn't have lots of ramen places in those days. We didn't have bao buns or some of the
there's some new cuisines or some new ideas. But so what is it that you think caused the cycle, right? Like something caused Muswell's to, I guess, end up being replaced, by a Loungers, or Ed's to be replaced by a Byron. Yeah. What goes wrong?
I think there's lots of different things. I think quite often it's changes of ownership. So we talked about the passion and the fanaticism that we had about product. I still talk to people about that today. You look at the businesses that work, it's because the founders, they really care. And as a customer, as a guest in that environment, you can sense that. However that feeds its way through. If you have people who are trying to ride the wave, they've seen somebody who's fanatical about it, and they think, I can do that too, and they try and ride the wave. Chances are they don't do it as well. Something in the translation gets lost, and they're not as successful. So I think quite often it is changes in ownership and management. I think maybe sometimes it is just people get tired. It's time for a refresh. We all like to go to check out somewhere new, or check out a new brand, or check out it's probably not a brand, but we go and check it out the first time. It's somewhere new that's opened. When Lena Stores opened their first restaurant, rather than the original Lena Stores. You had a brand because people knew Lena Stores of old, but actually what they were going to do was try the new thing because it was a different experience.
Absolutely.
So I think there's always an element of we want to try something new.
Yes.
And then once you've tried it, and this is what I said at Ed's years ago, is talking to Norman. I said, he said it's a gimmick, and I went, it is. But actually where we'll succeed is by being bloody good at what we do and people having a fantastic time.
Yeah, I'm kind of really fascinated by that idea of it's a gimmick. Were you trying to bring the feeling, like the emotion of the diner, what that is, to a site, And in the UK, it looks like a gimmick because it looks like something off a
it looks
off a film set.
Happy Days.
Yeah. And how much of that were you kind of conscious of inside the offer? Because I think when you having sort of tried to build a vision myself, you get so tuned into the detail.
Yeah.
And then someone can walk in and completely trash it or interpret it in a completely different way.
Sure.
And it's so frustrating because you think, that's not what this is. That's not what I was trying to do. But you can't prevent that,
No, I mean,
opinion. How much were you? Yeah, were you trying to create an image of it, or were you just trying to create a great diner?
No, we were. It was very much that image of the chrome counter, the jukeboxes. Yeah. We had working. What were they called? Seaberg 100. Jukeboxes.
Amazing.
Which were the bane of every manager's life because they were constantly going wrong. Because it was the original workings going to a box down in the basement where all the records were.
Oh wow!
Record. You know what a record is?
Just.
Records have come back. They're cool now. Everyone's
But we had literally it was a box down there which they were in, which wasn't the original.
Yeah.
But on the counter were originals that were all working. That you put 5p in. That had converted from a dime.
Yeah.
You joined the playlist. But the great thing about it was the reason we could do the numbers was because it was so simple and so fast. The other great thing was the energy that we then managed to create in order to keep that and the volume. We would be loud, would be in your face. We employed lots of actors and actresses, which made sense.
That was exactly what we did at Byron in the West End.
Yeah,
but I also think that's a really fundamental thing about hospitality in general. That it's so supportive of. It's like symbiotic with creative people because they bring an energy to the business.
Absolutely,
but also they really want to pursue their dreams.
Yeah,
hospitality is flexible enough to allow that. And support that.
Yep.
Not many industries allow that kind of that symbiosis. It's sometimes viewed as a negative thing, but I really think it's a strength, a positive thing. It should be seen as such. But it can create that energy. Right? Where you've got loads of.
And we were in effect inviting people to come on set.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes. Yeah. Have a phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
And then we were pushing them out the door. But they would come out the door. I would stand outside Ed's in Soho regularly and just watch people coming out with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
It's like, what's better than that?
Yeah.
And I made a few quid off them. What was better than that? And actually, going back to the kids, and they were kids who were working behind the counter, they were doing phenomenally well as well because, we were turning over so much that, you had two people working the counter for 21 stools. So one would have 10, the other would have 11. But, they'd turn them so many times within a decent shift. If you made 50p off each one, do the math. If you made 100p, if you made £1, off each one, these kids, we didn't pay them a lot, but they were walking out with 100 quid a shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
In 1987.
It's nice.
Nice now.
It's still absolutely.
It was really nice then. Which gave us the opportunity to employ some great people, and we had some really great people.
Yeah,
and they help to make the business, as is always the way. You will know in businesses that you've set up, run, owned, that actually is down to it's people don't know the owner most of the time. They'll know the person who looks after them, who they come in and they see on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever it may be, 3 times a week, who recognises them, who knows their name, who knows what they like, who can have a chat with them about whatever they talked about last time. And that's when you go back to your first question. Hospitality doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's actually about getting those basics right. And whether it's Jesus at Caprice, Arlington, no longer there, who knows everybody, or it's a phenomenal CRM system that knows that last time you booked, you always like to sit on this table. You like to get, as you sit down, a glass of iced water, and never to bring you your coffee before your dessert. Whatever it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But those are the things that make the difference between being okay, being really great.
Yeah. And I it's so, I guess what you describe is it's probably something that we've experienced in different businesses, that moment where everything comes together, you all, you have passion and energy and a great culture, which is such an ephemeral thing. It's really hard to describe exactly what that is, you know. And then it starts to, what, one person leaves or two people leave, or you know, it starts to get a bit tough and things start to change, and a few people, you know, maybe it's an ownership or a sale, and you start to pick away at the small things, which it's impossible to know exactly which thing is the thing that changes it all. Maybe it's all together.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's different, and you can't quite put your finger on it. I think what is, you've built and scaled so many different businesses and interesting businesses. What is the thing that you think is the most important? And I guess you've sort of said it's the people, you know, on the ground, really, that when you're scaling is sort of so important to focus on. Is it all just sales because it's, you know, you have to keep pushing the top line? Is it about profitability, or is it about get the feeling right, get the culture right, and then everything else will come together?
Yeah, so inevitably it's a complex question with a complex answer. But I tell a story that I had somebody who worked for me. I ran Down Mexico Way many years ago, which is now the Gaucho site in Swallow Street. Yeah. Before it, tell you what it was. No, not that I wanted it all to go round. And the producers from Mastermind to call me up to ask me my specialist subject. I had a waitress who came to me and said to me, I'm leaving. She'd been good. She'd done, been with us for a while. We wanted to be working there, and she came to me and said, I'm leaving. I said, why? And it was because she was no longer making good money as a waitress. In those days, it was all about the tips. And I said to her, do you think it may be to do with the fact that actually you're thinking about something else? You're no longer giving the same service, so therefore you're not getting the tips. And she said, maybe, but I'm going to go anyway, so fine. So I said, well, let's experiment for the 4 weeks before you go. Stop worrying about the money. Just have a really good time. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure that you're having a good time and you're giving your guests a really good time. And of course, what happened as a result of that, she stopped chasing the cash and she started giving people a great time. And the result of it was that she earned a lot more than she'd ever earned previously. Yeah. So taking that analogy into the bigger picture, if what we're doing is constantly chasing the cash, but forgetting about what it is that produces the cash, we only have two ways to take the cash. We've got two levers. We either sell more or we serve more people. So it's either more covers or a higher spend. So we need to look at those levers and play with those levers in order to get the optimum position. If what we do, though, is forget about the fact that we're actually there to give people a fantastic time, and we spend all our time chasing the cash, we stop giving people a great time. And the result of it is that the cash declines. And the alternative, obviously, is you give people a fantastic time. The result of it is that you've got the top line. Of course, you have to control it. But, again, you've opened enough places that you'll know that if you haven't got the top line, controlling it is such a challenge to actually ever get it to a point where you can do the right numbers. If you can get the top line right, everything else you can make fall into place. And if you can't, you shouldn't be doing your job, So kind of that simple.
And once you've sort of proved the model, I guess every location's different, but you can, get closer to that perfect model. I think in my experience, it's something about getting people to buy into a clear vision, however sort of crazy that vision is, or however loose it is. It's just, it's almost just everyone wants to be part of a tribe. I think it's been described as that in the past, and it's for that feeling of being part of a team that are all going somewhere, wherever it is. We're going and we're doing something together. And when you start losing it, and it's really hard to know at what point that is, I think that's the bit where it starts to sort of fall apart for me.
Yeah, it's a real challenge because you take over a business which has been failing and try to turn it around. Which bits do you want to keep? Which bits do you want to change? That's always the challenge. How do you create that new culture? You've got a great business that you buy into, that you want to expand further. How do you do that without losing the culture and then becoming just another also-ran? And, I think the important thing, and something that, again, that I just learnt by chance, or I witnessed by chance, I've been involved setting up Yo Sushi with Simon Woodruff. Again, wasn't there for particularly long. Simon had phenomenal vision, but was not an easy guy to work with, and we both had strong ideas, and so inevitably, we would at times clash.
Yeah.
And I was there because I knew about running restaurants. He was there because he had the vision, and it was better at some point that we decided to part company, which was fine. Yeah, the stupid thing was allowing him at the time to buy back my shares, which I even said to him at the time, I know what I'm doing is probably financially stupid, but it was the right thing to do. He'd given me the shares because he couldn't afford to pay me. By that stage, he could afford to pay me, so it worked. And
bird in the hand.
I had a school fee to pay or whatever it was. It was inevitably something that I needed. But I happened just by chance years later. I was in Leicester for somebody else that I was doing something with. It was when Yo Sushi opened in Leicester, and it was 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many years later. And I'm watching people outside and listening to them in Leicester, and they were as excited at the opening in Yo in Leicester as they had been in Poland Street 6, 7, 8 years earlier, because this was the first time they'd seen conveyor belt sushi and all of the.
I still get excited by you seeing the conveyor belt. I still love it.
It is lovely. I mean, it's so accessible, and visual, and everything about it appeals. But what it really told me was that whilst those running it in London thinking, God, it's just another opening in Leicester. Who wants to go to bloody Leicester? Actually, for the people in Leicester, this was the first time. This was that.
Yeah, like something they'd probably heard about, or they'd read it in the paper, and finally, we can get one too.
Exactly, it's arrived. The spaceship landed.
Extrapolation of that idea that the last guest in the business, it's the first time they walked into your business in the day. So even though you serve 600 people,
absolutely,
you have to treat them the same. And it's the same with every opening, right? And it's such a simple idea that just treat each site like it's the first, like it's its own restaurant, and be the best it can be in that moment, and put it all together, and it should work. But sometimes it doesn't.
But sometimes it doesn't.
It's sort of the beauty of hospitality is that slight, difficult,
and we're all still
trying to figure out.
We look at sites. That should be a great site, and it turns out not to be for whatever reason. And who knows? But
you said something interesting earlier about how a guest gets greeted, or how they whether we remember they like a coffee after their dessert or whatever. And you said whether it's like the host or a clever CRM. What's your sort of view? There's a lot of, I guess, quite strong opinions about how tech maybe is hurting hospitality, or it's not necessarily helping, or it's taking away some of the hospitality from hospitality.
So I'm a great believer in tech as an enabler. And I have, as you know, we talked about it, I have my smart training AI business, which is a new business. It's a startup. Still doing startups. All these years later. But where we're using tech to find people's learning styles and then taking any training. Could be hospitality, doesn't have to be. It is sector agnostic, but taking training and adapting it to suit them. So people learn better, retain more, enjoy it more. And in that and every other technology that I think that we bring in, if you're using the technology for the right reason and therefore using it to enable better hospitality, then it's fantastic. If what it's doing is making it more difficult for your guest, then clearly it doesn't work. And again, I'll tell the story. I went to the site that was owned by the guys who had Goodman's, was it Zellman Meats or something like that in St Anne's Court?
Yeah, exactly. Zellman Meats, Should
I tell you what that was before it was? I first went there when it was a New York deli. It was called Peyton and O'Brien. Not Peyton. Something
that's literally just over that way, isn't
exactly.
it?
Just down the road.
Yeah.
Difficult site. Something at O'Brien. It wasn't Peyton. It was anyway a really brave place to have opened.
Yeah.
2 non-restaurateurs who took that site and turned it into 5,000 square foot of New York deli.
It's big, isn't it? It's big. It's deep. It's off pitch, strange alleyway.
Tricky site, but people made it work. Anyway, I went there actually with the guy who was my area manager when I first opened Muswell's. Yeah, so one of my few bosses who I still see and who taught me a lot. Great guy who went on and had a fantastic career, but always in bigger businesses. He was a much bigger business guy and did all sorts of interesting stuff. And we met up for lunch and we went there. And at Zellman Meats in those days, and we're talking 10, 12 years ago, I don't remember, maybe more, they had this great idea that everybody was going to order off an iPad themselves. And we sat down and they gave us these iPads and said, you can order. And he said, can we get a bottle of wine? And they went, let me show you how to do it. And he went, no, can we get a bottle of wine?
Yeah.
And they went, no, I'll show you. It's like, get me a fucking bottle of wine. Excuse me. Yeah. I want to spend some money.
Yeah.
I want a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
He was more grumpy old man than me.
Don't make it difficult for me to spend
exactly.
money in your business.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And Dave Strauss, who was ops director for the group at the time, really good guy, really good operator, said to the guys, just get him a bottle of wine. He happened to be sat there. And so he took control. Yeah. So I think self-ordering, for those who want it, is fantastic.
Yeah.
I experimented with all of the early pay-at-table apps that were out there.
And there was a rapid boom of them, wasn't there?
Oh, there was.
Some of them were good and some of them were terrible experience for the guest.
Exactly. It takes you 10 minutes to register before you can then pay it. All I want to do. And I make the point, and I still make the point, nobody wants to pay. Nobody likes to pay. When you get to that point, make it as easy as possible for people. Yeah. So actually, if you can use pay-at-table apps and they enable it to be much easier, fantastic. The guest wins. They can pay. They don't have to, all of this waving and then waiting and then someone going around the table with a tap, 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 which can take half an hour, which is a nightmare, and someone arguing about what they did or didn't need in a group. And you get the table back faster. Yeah. Everyone's a winner. Yeah. So at that point, it's fantastic. Yeah. But it's probably not. If the experience is not good. Yeah. And it therefore, I just want to pay.
Yeah. And this podcast, the Ops Club, it's all about operators coming together to try and share experiences, and with the as we said at the start, the general idea being that we all just sort of get head down and just go and do stuff. We're probably all going through the same challenges, problems, whatever, and it's good to talk. Yep. And share those things. And lots of those challenges don't change in 40 years.
No, they don't.
We're still trying to solve the same problems.
Yeah.
With those tech things, it seems like there's a huge proliferation of tech coming to the industry, and some of it is being driven by there is a problem that tech can help and solve and enable, like you say, and some of it seems to be driven by we have something that we can sell into the industry, and it's not quite solving the problem, or it's solving a bit of a problem, but probably create another problem as well.
Mm-hmm. And sort of pay at table in the casual dining sector maybe is an example of that. But it's not actually the solution you would want.
I'm ambivalent on that one. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think when it works really well, it's fantastic and great, and everybody should embrace. Not everybody will want to do it, and that's fine. Yeah, you should still have the opportunity not to. Yeah.
Yes, and it's probably that black and whiteness that is the problem.
You have to order on your iPad.
Yeah.
I can't do it till you register or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think it's that where it falls down. But I don't know if you're going to run your podcast in order. But you mentioned that you're chatting to the founder of Safi. Well, I take it back to Ed's. The other reason I loved Ed's was because we bought in patties, we sold hamburgers. We bought in a bun, it went round the patty, we sold a burger. I had a form. We didn't have laptops. We had a form that the managers filled out every day and reconciled their stock. And so, they would count how many. They started with 20 burgers or 20 meat patties. We had 500 delivered. They sold 400. We should end up with 120. And they would count every day, and they would see that we had 119. And I'd go, where'd he go? And we would do that with the burgers, the buns. We knew that we got 20 portions out of a packet of fries, 20 portions of milkshake out of an ice cream tub. And we would reconcile. We sold 5 beers. We reconcile everything on a daily basis. We didn't have the tech to do it. Mm-hmm. Took them a bit longer, maybe. Did it stop them being good at giving great hospitality? No. Did it mean that they worked an extra half hour at the end of the night? Probably.
Or potentially they didn't, because I feel like now, we don't do a lot of looking at how long it takes to study the data. There's more data, there's tons of data. But what is it being used for, and how is it being interpreted? There's a million dashboards. Are they exactly what you want to see?
Absolutely.
Do you have to download it and tweak it slightly to get something meaningful? I was in a meeting yesterday, and we were talking about something we want our GMs to do that is fairly basic, but it's so easy to say, let's get them to just write another report because it drives up behaviour. But then we stopped and I said, what we want to do is get them off laptops. You don't want what you want to do is you want operators to be with guests, with the team, training the team, doing more of that. So for me, tech is it's so easy to stack up on each other. And then all of a sudden, you think maybe back in the day it took longer to do one thing, but you only did 2 things or 3 things. So actually, you kind of the admin was leveled out. But I think that manual process teaches you the skill, right? Teaches you the detail.
I think you end up understanding, like stock, incoming, receiving, sale. Like you understand how it works. You understand like a P&L. Whereas I do sometimes wonder if there are operators now who don't understand that because they've never had to learn that.
Absolutely.
Everything can just sort of run.
Yeah. You don't have to understand the tech.
No, put some numbers in. If the numbers are green enough or not red enough and I don't get told off, it's fine and the number looks broadly good.
Yeah. But don't really understand how it got to that. Yeah, no, I mean, I was having the conversation even with Tom Stanley from Williams Stanley recently and talking about, he's bringing in people as bookkeepers who don't understand necessarily double entry bookkeeping. Well, my dad was an accountant. I grew up age 15. He was running accounts for different businesses. I would run payroll manually. There was no choice in those days for him for those businesses. So we had books where I'd look and see how much people earned. I'd see how much tax they had to pay by looking across, write it down, do the math. My dad would. I remember him sitting with a ledger, and he would add a column of numbers in his head faster than I could do it on a calculator, because that's what he knew how to do, and that's how he was trained. Well, nobody would be able to do that now, because they don't have to, and it's the same principle that. If you don't understand how the number got to where it got to, you don't necessarily know how to affect it. You can't then necessarily run your business. And, I've been in businesses even now. Yes, one of the businesses I'm involved in where we've had a stock reconciliation issue, hence we're talking to your next guest. And I said, well, do it on paper. I'll give them a bloody sheet. It doesn't have to be on paper. We can give them a spreadsheet. It can be on Excel.
But sometimes that's the best way to go back to actually
basics.
Learn how things are like made up. Like you've got to understand how things are made up.
Understand what the levers are that you can affect.
We had a combination of managers' holiday and some poor planning. And so I ended up doing a stock take the other day. First time in a while. And we use apps. We have multiple, and this is a retail business. The way the app works, it's a big company. I think we probably all guess who it is. And their usability is on the app is
pretty poor.
Borderline
less than optimal.
Less than optimal. Not and I understand you can't be bespoke to every single business. There is a function on it that if 2 users who can be in the same stock location at the same time are in it and someone saves it, it deletes all the other accounts.
Nice.
So, as we've had this problem across multiple businesses where
nightmare.
We only found that out, early on. What's going on? Is it a system? Is it people haven't counted? What's happening? So it took a few months of stocks to figure out, there's this quirk of the system. And then the feedback for the company was, that happens. Yeah. You just don't do it.
You know what to ask your next guest.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And that's it. There is tech that's coming in that is way more operator focused. But I found myself to this stock. I just wanted a bit of paper so I could understand everything. And also, if we entered it and it was incorrect, I could go back and say,
exactly.
I counted. There's 6. It's not 60.
I wrote down 2 plus 3 plus 4. And I've written
not 23.
It wrong.
I don't. Yeah, and I guess we sometimes I think we can be so focused on what's the next thing or get wowed by some tech. You think, well, actually that was like an hour and a half. It wasn't that long. It was actually time well spent. It helped me understand.
But I really understand.
Yeah, I mean,
what's in my business.
It's every operator's. I think as labour's getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, all that admin time is just trying to squeeze it as much as possible to put it into productive operations,
But then I was listening to somebody speaking a while ago, and she talked about an app where you would literally take your phone and you just scan along the back.
I was just going to mention this because I was actually thinking to myself, we should ask Danny about it, but like video stock counting.
Yeah, at which point, actually, why do you even need to take your phone? You've got CCTV.
Yeah.
We actually.
You've already got technology that's checking delivery bags when they go out. So you know what I mean? Like I did put it in or I didn't, so you can challenge complaints. Like it's mad.
So in those instances, I think technology can be a great enabler. If it gets to the point where it's replacing the knowledge and the people who are using the tech don't understand the basics behind it, that's where you need smart training.
Yeah,
that's probably something that we need to be more careful of.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to do another session, Bruce, and get you back and talk about AI and smart training. I think we've probably got 5 minutes. Simmons Bars got announced into administration today.
Yeah.
You know, and Oakman's fantastic business. You know, a week ago or whatever. There are more and more sort of bad news stories, and it doesn't seem to be, you know, businesses that everyone thought were in distress. It's, you know, it's all over the place, and I think well versed challenges out there. I was really struck by something you were saying earlier about, you know, you work for the bank and the interest rates being 15% and all that stuff. It maybe would have felt. I think sometimes we get so doom, there's a narrative that builds in hospitality, and I felt it was post COVID or around the COVID time. Everyone, lots of voices in hospitality got a little bit pessimistic, and a sense that everything is tough and someone needs to sort it out for us. But actually, there's still tons of things going on. There's loads of great operators doing great things and making money. Maybe it's more polarised. Maybe it is tough. I can remember reading the first board report of when the company that we worked for, we first started. And it was all about tough headwinds, you know, huge operational headwinds coming our way, unprecedented cost increases. And it's all the language is always the same. It does, and I say that when, you know, it does feel like it's the hardest it's ever been and all that stuff. I mean, do you think it is the hardest it's ever been, or do you think it's just another set of challenges that the industry is evolving, and there will always be, you know,
some losers and some winners.
Some losers and winners, and things are shifting, and what you did 10 years ago you can't do now, and but the core fundamentals are the same. It's just, you know, it's a different. You know, different sort of.
I can no longer pay my waitresses £2 an hour.
And
have them make more than me as a manager because they're earning an all-in tips, and I say more, probably 3 times more.
Yeah.
But I paid them £2 an hour to the point that they never picked up their pay.
Yeah.
But so have things changed? Yeah, of course. I mean, is it the toughest time? So all sorts of different ways of approaching this. But first thing, I think, there are a lot of voices. And there are some great voices, and there's people who've represented the business phenomenally well. Yeah. And actually, I think one of the really lovely things, great things about this sector of the industry is that at your level, where you're doing the ops club, or at owner level, where there are various groups, actually people are quite good at sharing information. And we actually all do talk to each other quite well. And during COVID in particular, there were some fantastic WhatsApp groups that we were all in, where we were sharing, this person's really helping, this one isn't, this supplier's doing this. Have you talked to them? Have you tried that? You know, really helpful, and actually still helping to create that community. Yeah. Because although we're all competing with each other for the same 10 quid at lunchtime or whatever it may be, we actually do talk to each other and share tips, which I think is fantastic. And that's part of, we're people who like people. That's why we're in hospitality. Yeah. So therefore that follows its way through, I think, or feeds its way through. I totally buy into the fact that for 40 years we've been talking about a whole series of different challenges. Yeah. And we can always look externally for people to either solve them or help, or and to give you an excuse. Yeah. Or you look internally to say, what can I do? And my take is that however tough it is out there will be people who will be doing really well. There'll be other people who won't be. Whether that balance changes because of the external factors, which I think it probably has, and I think it is tough at the moment, don't get me wrong, but that does throw up opportunities. You know, the fact that, Oakman closed gave the opportunity to pick up some great sites for less than they would have otherwise. Yeah, absolutely. So one shareholder's loss, the other shareholder's gain. Yeah. It's not a zero-sum game in that respect, though, because the pool can always be getting bigger. Yeah. And the truth is we wouldn't, we have to be optimistic. Otherwise, we wouldn't be setting up businesses. We wouldn't be entrepreneurs. Yeah. I have a business that cost me a lot of money that got taught at London Business School for 20 odd years as a case study, and I'd go up there, and the MBA students afterwards, I'd be delivering it, and they'd say, so what did you do next? Did you go out and get a job so that you got paid? And it's like, no, it's just not my mindset. Yeah.
There's always another opportunity.
Exactly.
It's around the corner.
And, God, my life could have been so much easier. And my son, who now works for an international bank, said, if you're going to work that hard, make sure you get paid every month. So he went and did that. But it's actually whether you have the mindset to do that and ability to play the politics and therefore make it up the chain in order to, obviously if you go into the right sort of place, even at the bottom of the chain, you're already getting paid more money than you will probably ever earn in hospitality. Not quite, but there are different scales. But because of our mindset, I believe, which is that we're looking for opportunities, we're looking for angles, we're working with people, we're building businesses, we're looking at different ways that we can do it. We go out in order to do that. If that wasn't, we'd become solicitors or accountants, and we'd find reasons not to. So it's all about how you're wired. And if you're wired.
You see the opportunities rather than the challenges at the moment. I guess is
you have to see both. You have to be conscious of both, and you can't just drive on willy nilly. Not looking out for the thunderstorm.
Absolutely.
But with your roof down, thinking that I won't get wet, it'll be fine. You still have to have a belief that on the other side of the thunderstorm, there'll be some sunny weather, and we'll get through it. And whilst it'll be tough while we're doing it, there will be better time. If we're good enough at what we do, if the business that you're running keeps giving people a good time at the right price, you can make a margin. Your staff are enjoying working for you, so therefore they're giving the people who come through a good time because you're looking after them. You've got a chance. And you don't do stupid property deals, and the chancellor doesn't change national insurance, there are some things, and that has to be the big one out there, which not so much the rate obviously, but the start point, which are massively damaging. And there's nothing you can do.
I guess that just slows internal investment and. Which then makes it harder, and it just all becomes slightly tougher internally to maintain.
But especially when you're a startup and you're a small business, it's what you do. It's not the macro that's going to affect whether it works or not. The macro will have an impact. But it's actually what you're doing that will make the difference between whether you've got a chance or not. And actually, if you're a shit operator, however good the environment is, you're still going to fail.
Absolutely. You might survive another few months, but
exactly.
You're going to go pop at some point. No, really good. That's an optimistic outlook. It's just good.
Again, you have to
feel a bit doom and gloom at times, and
it's very easy to feel that, and there's plenty of reasons to think it's tough. But actually, so you have to work harder. You will have to work smarter. You have to look for the opportunities more. With the little Benito's and pizza slice business that I'm working with, that I'm a shareholder of, we're looking at opportunities where we have to spend less on a capital fit out because somebody else has been unfortunate. And it's not vulturing, but to a degree it is. It's taking the opportunity that's available.
But it's finding a way, isn't it?
But I guess the industry's always been, to your specialist subject. There's always been someone coming in to replace.
Exactly.
And that's part of the beauty of it. There's always a maniac who's willing to come in and pile their money into some new creative vision.
Let's hope not a maniac. A visionary.
Exactly.
That's the word that you were looking for.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Bruce. It's been fascinating. I think we'll have to get you back on for another hour at some point.
Part 2.
For anybody who made it through part 1.